A South Korean court has handed down a guilty verdict in the insurrection trial of former President Yoon Suk Yeol. Prosecutors had sought the death penalty for the impeached leader over his 2024 declaration of martial law, but the judge instead sentenced Yoon to life in prison. Let's speak to our North Asia correspondent Natalie Whiting, who's been following the case. Natalie, tell us, what has been the early reaction to the sentence?
Well, Yvonne, we saw hundreds, potentially thousands of Yoon's supporters gather outside court. Unsurprisingly, they were unhappy with the verdict. There was a lot of jeering, claims that this was politically motivated. When the judge was giving his comments, they were live streamed and people were watching, and as I say, jeering when there were comments against Yoon. So there was strong reaction from there. More broadly in South Korea, we are seeing division between those who are rusted-on supporters of Yoon and those that took to the streets in protest when this martial law was briefly declared and introduced in December of 2024. Those people see this as an incredible test of the country's democracy. As you say, we saw Yoon sentenced to life imprisonment for insurrection. He was potentially facing the death penalty. That's what the prosecutors wanted to see. And there's some disappointment among some people I've spoken to that he didn't receive the death penalty. They say that would have sent a stronger message. Now, it would have been largely symbolic. We haven't seen an execution in South Korea for almost 30 years. But there are those who believe that that would have sent a stronger message to future leaders about the consequences of this sort of illegal military action.
What's next in these legal proceedings? Will there be an appeal?
Look, we will potentially see an appeal of this decision. Outside court, Yoon's lawyers indicated they will be discussing that. This is one of just 8 trials that he is facing. This was the most serious. These rebellion and insurrection charges carried the heaviest penalty. But we did already see him convicted of other charges, including resisting arrest last month, which held a 5-year sentence. He is appealing against those. And as I say, there are 6 other trials, including 2 relating specifically to this martial law declaration. The judge's comments were incredibly strong. As I say, his lawyers are saying they'll discuss an appeal, and they've claimed it was a pre-written decision. So we will see potentially more in terms of an appeal of this, but also of these other cases. And we're seeing other people involved, including the former Prime Minister. He was sentenced to 23 years jail. The former First Lady, on separate charges, has received 20 months jail. So we are seeing several cases unfolding. This certainly isn't the end of things.
And Natalie, with this verdict, how do you think Yoon Suk Yeol will be viewed in years to come? What will be his legacy?
Well, I think, Yvonne, we can say his legacy will be inextricably linked to this going forward. I mean, this was a man who came to national prominence as a prosecutor. In fact, one of his major accomplishments was involving the prosecution of another former president on corruption charges, and that was really how he came to the fore. So this is quite the about turn to see his political career end this way. However, he was a deeply unpopular president before this martial law declaration was made. There was a lot of concerns around him and his wife and potential influence over the former first couple. So his legacy has shifted greatly following this martial law declaration. Now he will be seen as a figurehead of this movement. As I say, to those rusted-on supporters, he will remain a figurehead. To others, he will be the man that tried to overthrow Parliament, to try to seize power of the National Assembly and tried to use the military to arrest opposition MPs. That's what the court has found today. So inescapably, his legacy is linked to this. He is behind bars and seemingly will remain there. We have seen other former presidents pardoned. So perhaps if his appeals aren't successful, perhaps that would be something to be considered. But I think politically it would be incredibly difficult for any future president, even a Conservative one on the same side of politics, to look to pardon him if his appeal wasn't successful.
Natalie, thank you.